not right.
No, Papa. Whatever we are today is only because of Dena Bank's help.
I'll get in touch with Dena Bank right now.
मैं और मेरी तन्हाई अक्सर बातें किया करते हैं कि पूरे देश में 100% अटेंडेंस होती तो कैसा होता, कि देश के कोने कोने में पीने के लिए साफ पानी होता तो कैसा होता मतलब अच्छा ही होता और अच्छा ही होगा. Join the movement, take action and see the impact. Sign up on globalcitizen.in and be the change you want to see. I am a global citizen. शुरुआत हूं मैं.
From connecting the world to enabling over 1 billion conversations a day. From building your homes to the highways that get you there. From styling your wardrobe, free outfits every second, to bringing you the world of fashion. We are a big part of your life because we know every small moment is big for you. Aditya Birla Group. Big in your life.
You are on top of the world with Times Network. And you're watching ET Now.
Well, hi there. Welcome to Markets Tomorrow right here on ET Now. It was a decent day for the markets today, but what was important was the fact that the market breadth held out and the broader markets did that too. After gap up open, the market just about managed to keep itself at the 8,500 level. Covered ground, so to speak, from last week's lows, but the mid-cap and the small-cap indices continued to outperform, and that was reflected in the overall health of the market as well. Let's take our viewers through the headlines that we got from the markets desk today. Markets snap a 4-day losing streak on Clinton's victory hopes. FBI gives a clean chit to Hillary before polls. All sectoral indices end in the green. Easing regulatory woes trigger a sharp rally in Lupin. The drug maker's Goa facility gets cleared by the US FDA, putting an end to all the outstanding inspections at the unit. Brokerages believe EIR should raise investor confidence in management's coordinated efforts. ICICI Bank delivers disappointing numbers as asset quality worsens for Q2. However, PAT is above estimates and net interest income is in line with estimates. Crompton Greaves rallies as the firm receives a binding offer for acquisition of its B2B automation business from Afiner. This strategic action is intended to meet the company's objective of debt reduction. And finally, PNB Housing makes a stellar debut on the bourses. The housing finance arm lists at 860 rupees a piece, a premium of 11% to its issue price. The 3,000 crore rupee IPO was oversubscribed nearly 30 times at a price band of 750 to 775 rupees a share. GMR Infra gains as GMR Energy allots 30% stake to Tenaga National Berhad for 2,000 crores, a subsidiary of GMR Infra. GMR Energy and Tenaga had announced the strategic partnership in May 2016, and the allotment of shares marks the completion of this major transaction in the country's power sector. Meanwhile, HCC soared on the back of RBI giving a nod for S4A scheme. HCC is first to get the approval for debt recast under S4A. The ICICI Bank-led Joint Lenders Forum had proposed the scheme for the company. The company's total funded debt is estimated at 5,100 crores and has been considered under this scheme. Okay, as always, let's make sense of the markets with our guest. Sudhir Bandyopadhyay joins us on the fundamentals, Chandan Taparia on the technicals. Good evening to both of you. Chandan, let's start off with you. What is your own sense on how the market would look at cues coming in on the US election results and the technical moves that we would see tomorrow as also day after?
Yes, we have seen a profit booking decline in the market in last couple of trading sessions. It broken the support of 8550, 8500 zone and dipped at the low towards 8400 levels. But on last trading session, it managed to recover. It opened bounce back, but failed to surpass 8550 zone. Witnessed some profit booking decline for higher levels. So as of now, if market manages to move above 85-50 zone, then only we may see the extension of this bounce back move. In this scenario, it can head towards 86.20 to 86.55 kind of level. But if it fails to hold this bounce back move and start trading below 84.50, then this weakness may continue, which may probably take market towards 83.50 kind of level. So now 85.50 is immediate trigger for the market. If manages to hold, then only we may extend this bounce back move and we may hope for a bottom formation on the immediate basis.
Very quickly, we have I think another voice joining us on the US markets, because that's where the focus will lie. You're looking at European markets trading with very strong gains, about 1.5% each for the key markets there. Do you think that this would be a leg up for India as well? Once this event is out of the way, unless it's something the market is not priced in or not prepared for example, a Trump win, the way would be only higher, and we could be making a serious dash at all-time record highs through November and December then?
Rally if Hillary Clinton comes to power. Rally if Hillary Clinton comes to power. Markets were pretty nervous with the possibility of Donald Trump coming, and now, as we have seen today with the polls, in opinion polls indicating that Hillary has gained back edge, there was a kind of a brief relief rally. I think that kind of a rally with a much sharper focus will be seen if Clinton actually wins. About the rally continuing, I think there are a couple of factors. One is US will probably go ahead and increase the interest rates in December, US Fed. As and when that happens, I think Indian markets will have a knee-jerk reaction. I won't be surprised if market comes down at that point of time. But having said that, I think in the medium to long term, markets look good. The short-term dips, if in case US Fed hikes interest rates, will be an opportunity.
Right. In fact, Sudeep and Chandan, just stay on with us. We have Gurraj Singh also joining in from New York for a better perspective on how things are shaping up in terms of market sentiment on the ground. Gurraj, good to have you on the show. The markets are rejoicing, almost reading into this FBI clearance given to Clinton as a sure shot victory for her. Is that how markets are preparing themselves for this event? Are you not surprised by the up move? Gurraj, can you hear me?
Generally speaking, the way the U.S. markets have been trading is on events which seem to indicate a Clinton victory. They've generally been rallying, so the movement of capital into risk assets. And the FBI announcement yesterday is more or less consistent with that. Most polls seem to indicate a Clinton victory, although some of the most accurate polls in the last 12 years are still leaning towards a surprise Trump victory. So although the U.S. markets are in rally mode today and presumably will be somewhat quiet tomorrow, I think the shock to the market would be a surprise Trump victory. And the reason why I suggest that is the momentum in many of these polls in which Hillary Clinton had a tremendous lead has shifted toward the Trump side, and I'm not sure if the FBI news of yesterday may be enough to change that sentiment. So regardless, it's going to be a very close election, and I believe we may be in for a surprise.
Yeah. So how do you read into the market reaction if indeed there is a surprise? How bad could it get?
Right. With the Trump victory, the situation, the dynamic shifts a bit in that it will be a surprise not only in the U.S., also for the rest of the world. So risk assets, primarily U.S. equities and related assets, should sell off quite substantially in the near term as the market reassesses Mr. Trump's economic and geopolitical policy, which is in many ways is quite different from Hillary Clinton's. That said, the long-term policy that he's likely to put in place and the people that he's like to bring on board is much more beneficial, not only for the U.S. economy, for the global economy, but in the interim, there's likely to be a very sharp setback, probably in the neighborhood of 6 to 10%, which then in turn would probably cause Federal Reserve to delay an impending rate hike in December. And then, as things stabilize, I think the global markets will reassess the situation and start from a lower foundation.
Okay. So we are working with two clear scenarios. One, the market is prepared for, which is a Hillary win. Second, the market is not prepared for, which is a Trump win. But there's also a third scenario where I think there's some amount of ambiguity. If Hillary wins with an absolute majority, apparently more than 300 seats, and Democrats are able to take over the Senate, that situation is also expected to cause some nervousness because of the uncertainty that lies with a clear Democrat dominance in the government and in both the key houses. Could you rationalize what that scenario would mean if there's a clean sweep by Clinton?
Right, a clean sweep by Clinton and the Democrats. The scenario it creates is somewhat similar to what occurred in the early 1990s. The difference being the U.S. economy is starting from a much weaker foundation. So the dynamic at play would be that the U.S. economy is facing much slower revenue growth as well as earnings growth as reflected in the S&P 500 companies, and therefore valuations are somewhat stretched relative to economic growth. The Democrats in Congress tend to be historically raise taxes to support incremental economic growth. So that would actually act as an incremental negative in that when you're extending tax policy on a weak foundation, that should make it somewhat problematic for the markets to continue their gains of the last 2 years. So I would think the market may initially blip up on a resounding sweep by the Democrats, but would tend to weaken as we head into 2017.
Gurraj, great to have you on the show. Thanks very much for making sense of all the possible scenarios and their impact on the markets. The U.S. markets first, and then, of course, for the rest of the world. That's a view coming in straight from New York. But back home, Sudeep, in the market circles, I think a Clinton win is seen as positive for India, positive to neutral. What are people saying about a Trump victory? Because the investors that we have spoken to believe that from a geopolitical point of view, Trump would support India quite strongly. On the economic front, things may not be that transparent, so a Clinton win would be better.
Well, Tanvi, we all are kind of, always scared about uncertain events. I think Trump winning and Trump's policies, Trump's activities are pretty much unknown and unpredictable. As human beings, we prefer kind of continuation, status quo. Hillary winning is considered a status quo and a continuation of the Obama policies. So we are comfortable with that. Yes, you are right. Republican presidents have always helped India on the geopolitical, angle much more than a Democratic president. That's history. As far as Mr. Trump's win and the possibility thereof and India benefiting out of that, one is not very sure, and I must confess, I think nobody knows how things will pan out. Having said that, I think I can say that Mr. Trump may be making a lot of statements during his campaign trail and when he was in the fray for winning the Republican nomination. But I'm sure when he becomes president, if he becomes president, things will get toned down quite a bit. And I don't think as a US president, he will be able to take 180-degree turn on most of the important, policy issues. It will take quite a lot of time for US to take, maybe 180-degree turn on some important issue. So I think, markets always tend to worry and always tend to react and overreact. I don't think something drastic is going to happen even if Mr. Trump wins. But yes, markets will be nervous, markets will panic, and there will be a huge sell-off if Mr. Trump wins. And that's not only Indian market, the global markets.
Absolutely. The first reaction will come in from the US markets, and then all markets will follow suit. Gentlemen, stay on with us. We'll head into a break right now. As we do so, Global doom is ahead of us if Donald Trump wins. That's the statement coming in from none other than veteran U.S. investor and commodity guru Jim Rogers. He speculates that markets will tumble and odds of going into a war will rise significantly if Trump is voted into power. Listen to those sound bites and